Hey, good morning, and welcome to another edition of Empowerment Through Encouragement. And we are on this topic of talking about ADD and ADHD and how it is a superpower. And the more that we understand it, the more that we can actually calm our own mind and be empowered through the encouragement that we're giving. And I'm joined with my host, Dr. Mendy. Welcome again, Dr. Mendy.
Good morning. Good morning.
And how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. It is a great day in the Carolinas, beautiful sunshine. So all is well.
Yes. Yeah. And it's beautiful here in Indiana. The weather, I have got my windows open. It's a nice, cool, I want to say it's probably in the 60s outside. So it's really nice, no humidity, and I'm enjoying it. I love these mornings. You get that fresh air that comes in and just gives you an energetic feeling.
Yes.
So let's dive in. I know we've had a lot of conversation and comments
Yeah.
about a couple of the different types of ADD. And one is the understanding of classic ADD,
Yeah.
that what we typically call ADD. And we understand that that's the classic style, but there's also the other one. So, what what are you finding? What are you discovering as you have this revealed?
Yeah. So, one of the things I'd like to advocate, if you haven't done the ADD type test, please go ahead and do that. ADDtypetest.com. If you have any just like, I need to know what's going on here, that's a good tool to give you an indicator of the types of ADD so that you can go ahead and understand what's going on. So I have been finding that the classic ADD seems to be the same across the board as far as symptoms, but also I'm noticing that children are coming up with the ring of fire ADD, which I wanted to talk a little bit about that today because it's in a very emotional, non-typical type of ADD, but it really puts children in a spin that keeps them in this loop that's on fire, so to speak. So I'm excited for you to chat about that, and let's dive into what's going on when that loop just can't be broken and it's very emotional.
Yeah, that's a great question. And that is uh, an experience, and that's what I want to say. These are all experiences of life. So this is, ADD and ADHD is a complex. It
Yeah.
can be demystified, and when we understand it, we take away really, no pun intended, but we take away the fire of this experience. And I want to continue to say that it is an experience. It is not a title. It's not a label. It's not a defect. It
Nope.
is, and I say this over and over, it's a superpower. And just like dynamite, and sometimes a child with ADD, and I imagine that my mom probably thought that I was a stick of dynamite. And actually, I remember people saying that I was just like a little firecracker. And as I do the study, and once I became a brain health trainer coach, and certified under Dr. Daniel Amen, I began to appreciate all of the things, all of the elements, all of my experiences growing up. And, that's been a couple days ago when I was a little kid, and I won't date myself how old I am, but the idea is to have an appreciation for the unique character that each of us has. And as we understand it, now we can channel it. And this is where my principal really was the catalyst for my development without even understanding what it was going to do for me. So
Yeah.
the ring of fire ADD is unique in itself, and it's very complex. And because it is attention deficit in the manner that if you picture your computer, and you're asking this child to focus on one tab. But now you open up another tab. And let's say you've got math and science and spelling and reading and geometry and psychology, and you've got all these YouTube channels that are opened up. And now you're asking him to focus on one, but he sees the commercial for the next channel. Now he wants to go to that. And
Yeah.
you're saying, no, I want you to focus on math, but he's got 50 tabs open.
Yeah.
And so his mind is going to this constantly in motion, and it's an overactivity. It's not attention deficit, it's attention abundance. And the brain is trying to focus on one particular thing, but there's so many tabs that are open. And there's an excessive activity that are going on throughout multiple regions in the brain. And the reason it's called a ring of fire is on a SPECT scan, it lights up at different areas and it's constantly lighting up.
Yeah.
And so, this is where modern medicine is lacking, in the fact that most hospitals, most doctors don't know a brain SPECT scan. It's different than an MRI. It's different than a CAT scan. MRI will show certain images. A CAT scan will show certain images, but a SPECT scan actually shows where the blood is flowing and the activity of the brain. So MRI and CAT scan, they have their place, but they don't show the full picture. And it's understanding that this ring of hyperactivity that's going on, they can be extremely sensitive to their environment. Now, to light, to sound, and to textures. So as I mentioned that, what does that bring up for you as an administrator, a teacher, a principal, about a particular child, now that you may have a new appreciation for what they experienced?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really, really good. And I think that some of the things that we're seeing in children today, related to, I see that ring of fire, understanding that that loop is constantly going, leads to, when you get stuck in that loop, it seems to be leading to a lot of anxiety, and even then aggression, because of the frustration of getting stuck in this place of angst that you can't get the child out of. And so, knowing that this spinning is going on, knowing that it needs to be broken, to kind of bring some peace to that situation, what would you recommend to parents to help them pull that child out of that ring before, that's creating anxiety, it's creating maybe some aggression? How do you pull them out before you have a chance to let it get that far?
Well, I'd say one of the things is to, number one, don't get upset. And this is going to be the toughest thing. And trust me, I've been a parent. My kids are grown, and
they all survived.
and
That's what I say.
we
They all survived.
survived.
And they all have jobs. Oh my gosh.
Yes. And here's the thing. They're not broken, and you're not broken either. Okay. So what I want to encourage our listeners to is that once you begin to understand, you see, the things that we're afraid of is the things that we don't understand. And you're not going to understand everything in this podcast, in this 30-minute segment, but it will demystify it, and it maybe help you take a breath. And it is also taking the child and going and observing what is going on, and see, if we ask a question, like, how would you be okay with going for a walk? How would you be okay with taking this test? How would
Yeah.
you be okay when we change our questions instead of making them demands and we turn them into questions?
Yeah.
Um, I was the dad that I never had, so I approached life a little bit different with my kids
Yeah.
than what I had an approach with. My mom did not understand me. She had no understanding of ADD.
Yeah.
Children in her culture were seen and not heard. I was heard.
Yeah.
And some of the neighbors even heard me when she was trying um to calm me down, but it wasn't calming. Anyway, but the idea, okay, if you notice my ADD son is flipped in. But it's it when we understand what's going on, if there's a rapid mood that
Yeah.
takes place, like they go from high to low, we go, okay, I'm observing that. What
Yeah.
caused that? When I understand what caused something, now I'm empowered.
Yeah.
And so I want to encourage you that when they have an outburst of anger,
Mhm.
pause for just a moment.
Yeah.
5-second pause can be the difference between all hell breaking loose and the possibility of calm. Also, understanding what kind of medication that they're on. Now,
Yeah.
you put a child that has a ring of fire in their brain on a stimulant, it is only going to exacerbate it.
Yeah.
Let me say that one more time. If you put a child on the typical medicine, it's a stimulant, you're already stimulating and the multiple areas of the brain that are being stimulated or overstimulated, you are adding fuel to a fire that you go, I can't win. I
Yeah.
can't do this anymore. I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many times I heard that. I can't do this anymore. These kids are driving me crazy. No, the lack of an understanding, the lack of an explanation of what your child is experiencing is what's driving you crazy. And the child is the closest thing, the
Yeah.
closest person to having that interaction. And you can throw your hands up in the air and feel like a failure. But what I'm here to tell you today is I want to encourage you, you're not a failure. It's just a learning curve.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you hit on a really important point, and that is for the parent not to lose their own anger in response to the anger. Now, that is a trick right there, let me tell you, because your immediate response when you see somebody angry is to go angry as well. But that pause and then take a step back, like training yourself to react well to an aggressive behavior, it's a trick, right? It's not
Right.
easy to do sometimes. So, really thinking about how you're going to react that way, take calm breaths, walk away, whatever it takes so that you don't exacerbate an already difficult situation. But again, trying to bring that situation back down into a level of peace is that's really the best way to try to navigate that. And it might be something like you know what, like we're doing schoolwork, there's a lot of exacerbation, a lot of things going on, the ring has started, maybe it's a total shift of the environment. All right, let's take a break, let's go for a walk. All right, let's take a break, let's go swimming in the pool. Like something to break that, to get them out of that place so that you can move forward and pull them back into a place of peace. I think one of the most beautiful things that Paul says in the Bible is we should live in peace. And that just resonates within me. Like, even when you're thinking about your purpose, you know what? It's living our daily lives in peace. And being able to do that with our children is super important.
Yeah. Yeah, 100% on that. And the idea, is that understand whatever we're putting in our body. If we're putting chemicals into our body,
Yeah.
we need to understand the chemical interaction with the chemicals that our body is producing.
Yeah.
And this is what I found, that now years later, it as I began to understand even more and more and more, when I discovered, when I became a health trainer, when I became certified with Dr. Daniel Amen and the program that he offers, when I learned that there were 7 different types of ADD, and we don't have a mental issue, we have a brain health issue. It
Yeah, that's right.
let me be kind about it and say it really ticked me off.
Yeah.
And the reason it ticked me off is because we're trusting other people with the most precious component in our body that we have, our brain. And
Yeah.
if we're feeding it the wrong medicine, we're feeding it the wrong food, okay, uh, then we're exacerbating it, and we're adding to the fire. And it really is heartbreaking to the
Yeah.
point that it just really tipped me off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I took that angst and I said, what can I do with this?
Yeah.
And I said, I want to take this to everyone who would be able to hear it,
Yeah.
be able to apply it, and to have a good night's rest. And when we understand what we don't understand, the things that we learn that we don't know,
Yeah.
it's just the power of it. So, you know, I recall a child that he had classic Ring of Fire. I mean, he was the epitome of Ring of Fire. And they tried medicine and they put him on one medicine, then they put him on another. His body was in such a disarray
Yeah.
because it takes months for medicine, the effects of medicine, to leave the body. Now they're adding another one, and it was guesswork.
Yeah.
And to the plight of the child, and he was making threats to the teachers. They had a certain code that they were saying in the hallway, like they did a lockdown because he was, I mean, he was in the 3rd grade, second, 3rd grade, and he was telling people that he was going to kill them. Now,
Yeah.
his parents, the parents that were overseeing him, they were amazing people,
Yeah.
but it wasn't the parents.
Yeah.
They took the role of a parent. They were actually the grandparents. But he also had alcohol fetal syndrome.
Yeah.
Now, you add that on ADD and a Ring of Fire, and now you're putting stimulants in the kid, and you are expecting an outcome that it's not
Yeah.
going to happen. No matter
Yeah.
how many times you put something together, let's say you put black and white in a paint can together, you are not going to get orange. It is
Yeah.
impossible.
Yeah.
So why
Yeah.
do we do that with our bodies? It's just, you know, this increased overactivity with the Ring of Fire. Um, Once you know,
Yeah.
it really allows you to take a breath and go, wow, it's not the kid's fault. It's not my fault. It's nobody's fault.
Right.
That's the power of this.
Yeah, absolutely. That's powerful knowledge, powerful information. And then also, one of the things that I've noticed about this particular type is the difficulty in sleeping. Like you say, just to stop that brain. So you can have a good night's rest. Like a good night's rest is vital for daily existence in a calm, peaceful manner, right? So
Right.
getting the child to calm for those 8 hours of sleep, that is so important to get that rest. So again, what are some nighttime rituals parents can do, or nighttime things that parents can do to try to bring down that child to the place that they're ready to rest? I know a lot of parents, read a story, and then there's the drink of water, so it's the constant going around and around. But talk about, like, maybe how you got your children to come to a place of rest.
Well, I wish I would have known this information a long time ago. I really do. And, I want to say that I don't have regrets of my life, but there are certain things that as I look back, I wish I would have known more.
Yeah.
And um, the idea that I left the care of the health of my children to what I thought were the professionals. Now, I am not criticizing any of the doctors. They didn't know either.
Yeah.
And they only did what they were taught. And I wish I would have had a Dr. Amen. I wish I would have had a brain health coach. I wish I would have had somebody that could have spoken to me and said, listen, I care about you and I care about your child. And these are the things that I see. And I'd love to work with you. I'd love to be that encouragement. I'd love to coach you. I would have definitely paid anything for my children not to have the pains that they had in certain areas. And one of them is the learning ability, the style of learning. And when, like I said, we put our son on a skateboard and we did his math skills with him. Put him on a bike and we did his math skills with him. Now he was riding around in the circle of the driveway and we could do math skills and it clicked because his activity was working. Now, one of the things that can be done at the end of the day, cut the TV time, get it out.
That's
Okay.
right.
At least an hour before they go to bed. An hour. I know that the TV for a lot of people is the free babysitter, but it's a program.
Yeah.
And the light from that TV, it fires those cells. It fires that activity. And now you let them watch TV right up until the point where they go to bed and they're laying in bed and they're having fidgety fits. And they're overactive and you're going, go to sleep. And they can't go to sleep because their brain is still on active mode.
Yeah.
So if I were going to, if I were going to encourage you, I would say that hour before they go to bed, create a habit. It's going to be hell. I'm going to tell you, it's going to be hell once you create a new habit, but that's your body resisting.
Yeah.
And so the idea is to allow the stimulation to kind of calm down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is something that you're in control of. If your 7-year-old is telling you when they're going to have their phone and they're not paying for it, let me tell you, they're not going to have their phone if I'm paying for it. That's just, okay. It's going to be hell for 5 days, 6, 7 days. Also, the foods that you eat. So a child that has a diet is so critical for a child with the Ring of Fire, ADD, or an adult. High protein and low carbohydrates. It can stabilize the blood sugar levels and improve brain function. Now, why is this important? Because as we improve the thing that's running our companies, the thing that's running our families and are running our life, if we can stabilize the blood sugar levels, guess what? We calm that fire down.
That's right.
Change our diet. I know it's easy to shove a Twinkie or a cookies or just give in to the ice cream and all the other junk that they're eating. And I'm just going to call it out on the carpet. Sometimes the tough love is the best love. It's take an inventory of what's in your pantry. Take an inventory of what they're eating. Hey, if they're going to sneak it when they leave the house and they're going to go to their friend's house and get candy, so be it. You can't police everything. But what you can do is create an environment where they're getting a higher protein in your presence. The nutritional supplements, omega-3, I can't stress this enough. Omega-3, magnesium and vitamin B6.
Yeah.
Most people are deficient of magnesium. Most people are deficient of vitamin D3, what you get from the sun, and B6s. We don't have food that is healthy for us anymore. It's just not. You're not going to read the labels. And if you support the brain, you're going to reduce the hyperactivity. It's a simple, complicated step. And I say complicated because it's not going to be fun when you pull the Twinkies, the Ho-Hos, the Ding Dongs, and the Captain Crunch, and those sugar foods. Um, but the result is going to be worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great conversation. And I just want to encourage everyone listening that if you just heard one thing that you were like, yeah, I need to do that, then do that. Just put that one thing into if you're not taking magnesium, you're not taking, the B6 or the D, just start there. Start with one thing. If you're not limiting screen time after 6 p.m., start there. Whatever it is, just start there today. So great conversation overall.
Yeah. Well, and I could go on about this because I'm passionate about the
Yeah.
brain health. One thing that I want to address is that a holistic approach is going to be by far the greatest um, artillery that you can come into this with, and understanding it's a personalized approach.
Yeah.
So taking that responsibility, because our children are only children for so many years and then they become adults.
That's right.
And, the time goes by fast. If you can't get a brain spec scan at an Amen clinic, then begin to take these approaches towards the food and towards the screen time and towards that interaction and just observing what's going on in that child's life and also in your own life. If you're dealing with the ring of fire and this is all clicking now,
Yeah.
then take that holistic approach and focus on what it is that you're eating. The foods, the high protein, lower carbohydrates. This is a way to create a lifestyle and an outcome of the life that you really want to create. So
Yeah.
I just want to thank you. And I know you've got to run. I want
Yep.
to thank our listeners and
Yeah.
those that are going to catch this replay for tuning in. I want to encourage you to like and subscribe. Also put the comments in. And I love the personalized comments that are coming in, questions that are being asked, because this is somewhat of a taboo subject. We don't talk about this in school. We don't learn this. So just keep those coming in. Send me a text, send me an email. You can go to my website, 360lifewithoutlimits.com. You can put a comment in there. You can schedule a virtual coffee if you want to talk more in private. Dr. Mindy,
Awesome.
she is working with many people as well. And her work is going to impact the world. That's what we're here to do.
Yeah.
Impact the world that's around us. We may not make it to the globe, but we can impact the world that's around us. So I just want to encourage you today, and take care of your diet. And we will see you next week for another edition of Empowerment Through Encouragement.
Awesome.
Have a great day.
Have a great day.